Hey everyone, just wrapped up talking with American country singer-songwriter Lee Newton. We honor share favorite memories of Lisa Marie Presley, what it means for her to be a mother, hometown of Canton, North Carolina, living out the dream of country music, chasing the goal of playing the Grand Ole Opry, her fascination with Patsy Cline, Lorrie Morgan, Bonnie Raitt, Merle Haggard, the Judds, behind her song Strength of a Woman, and more. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Lee. Lee, hello, happy New Year, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. And before we start this interview, I do want to. I felt this was important to say right off the get go. This show joins the world in mourning the loss of American singer-songwriter, mother to Riley Q, Finley and Harper, and the only daughter of Priscilla and Elvis Presley, Lisa Marie Presley. Condolences to their family and friends and extended loved ones during this incredibly difficult and devastating, profound time. And so, why don't we begin this interview by talking about some of our favorite memories of Lisa Marie and the Presley family as a whole? I mean, do you have one in mind that just strikes you the most?
Well, I've just, when growing up as a little girl, my mom always had Elvis Presley movies on. We always had Elvis Presley playing at the house. And I've kind of grew up kind of like with Priscilla, or not Priscilla, but Lisa Marie. And, it just broke my heart. It's like, it's almost like it's not even real. I saw her that posted where she'd went to, an event, and then the next day she was in cardiac arrest, and then the next thing you know she's passed. And just goes to show you how short life really is, and you just never know from day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, one of the most powerful moments was watching that scene from the film Elvis. For those who haven't watched it, please go and watch it in theater or wherever it's available. It's such a poignant memory of Lisa Marie and the impact that the Presley family has had throughout this whole time. I think the scene was when Elvis, Austin Butler, and Olivia DeJonge playing the role of Priscilla Presley. They pulled up in the car, and Elvis pulled up on his jet plane, and he took off, and that's the last time they would see each other again until Elvis's last day on the planet. And I think that was the most poignant moment for me to remember Lisa Marie, and also her song that she did duet with Elvis, her father, where no one stands alone.
Oh, I know, it's
And
so beautiful, so
and
beautiful.
yeah, it and then this morning, like I don't know, in my head when I was like, falling asleep to last night, it was the most difficult thing ever because there's thoughts wrapping around my head saying, man, I can't imagine what this is like for their kids. And yeah, I think like while we mourn the loss of Lisa Marie, I think it's really important for us to share the good times of Lisa Marie's time on this planet. Man, she's contributed a lot to the music industry as a whole, and obviously you being a mother, I
Yeah.
know that hits home for you too, because she lost her son due to a really traumatic incident. And so what does that mean to you now as a mother when you reflect back now on Lisa Marie's passing and the impact her son had on her, and with you having a son now, what does that mean to you?
Oh, I mean, as a mother, that's the last thing that you can even want to envision in your mind, that your child goes before you. And I have several friends of mine that have lost their child, and it has been devastating for them, and it breaks my heart because I couldn't even imagine, as a mother, losing your child. But I have seen, like I said, my friends who have, and it breaks my heart. And I actually just wrote a song about that, for one of my friends that just lost her son just a few weeks back. So it's just something that, as a mother, you never want to even put in your mind that that could even happen. So I know the grief that Lisa Marie must have felt. So it's just really sad.
Absolutely. And I think we all can vouch for each other here and say that our hearts are wrapped around them at this time. And Lisa Marie will never ever be forgotten. And but I think what's really cool about it is now she's rejoined with her father and her son.
Yeah.
And any I remember posting something about it last night. I said that I bet she is talking to the man above and saying, "Man, can you shine some light on this darkness going on in this world?" And I think that's the best thing to leave it off with. And so why don't we transition into talking about your hometown, Canton, North Carolina. I mean, what is Canton like? Is it small town? What is it like?
Oh my gosh. Well, I say that I have two hometowns. I have the one I was born in, which is Canton, North Carolina, the home of Paper Town, USA. It's got a paper mill in it that used to be called Champion Paper Mill. And my dad drove a taxi for Champion Cab, which was right across the street from the mill. The mill's still there. You can smell the mill probably about 30 miles away before you get into the town, but it's a pretty small town. If you blink, you'll miss it. But I moved to a place called Forest City, which is about an hour and a half from Canton. And they've kind of really just adopted me as their hometown. They have really gotten behind my career and my music. And, I've gotten involved in so much with the community, with the Marine Corps, the veterans, just trying to help as much as I can and be a part of their town. And like I said, the mayor, the newspapers, the radio stations, they have just really got in behind me. And I love both places and proud to be from both of them, basically. But Canton's pretty fun. Like I said, there's not much to do there, not unless you want to ride up the back road and just go sit next to a creek somewhere. There's some beautiful scenery for sure. I love the mountains.
Absolutely. And you had a really musical childhood, I would suppose, from inspirations such as Patsy Cline and Hank Williams, Loretta Lynn, Tammy Wynette, Bonnie Raitt, Dolly Parton, Lorrie Morgan, Leonard Skinner.
Man, you've done your homework.
No, honestly, that's the key with the podcast. Like, like doing your homework on whoever you're interviewing. It doesn't matter who it is. And I really love like people like that as well. I do listen to a lot of their music more often than other mainstream music. I listen to a lot of the George Jones of the world. And I think it was Waylon Jennings singing Storms Never Last. Just a beautiful song. Talk to me about your inspirations with Patsy Cline and the fascination behind those artists that I just mentioned.
Oh, wow. Well, everyone that you mentioned had a huge impact. One that you didn't mention, though, is the Judds. They were one of the bigger ones that had the biggest impact and still do on my music and singing. But Patsy Cline was my first ever cassette that my dad got for me. And I remember driving my mom crazy with my little headphones on, and I would sing to the top of my lungs. I'm sure that I was very nasally and off key, but I started singing Patsy Cline, and then that just grew into different other artists and stuff. As far as Dolly and Tammy, and Lorrie Morgan is a huge inspiration to me, and probably one that has been the most inspirational as well. The first song I ever got to sing live on stage was a Lorrie Morgan song. So I knew right then that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So
Absolutely. And what's the story of Brenda Lee? Were you named after her? What was the story of her?
I was named after Little Miss Dynamite, Brenda Lee. And if anybody does not know who Brenda Lee is, which I'm sure everybody does, but Brenda Lee sang the famous Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, I'm Sorry. She's just had a string full of hits, and she is just super awesome. And but yeah, my dad named me my first name's Brenda and my middle name's Lee. So he named me after Brenda Lee. So she is still one that it's on my bucket list to meet. I have not got to meet her yet.
And was that like an intentional thing to do, or is that just like a coincidence thing?
No, my dad passed away when I was 11, and my dad is what taught me how to play the guitar. He played guitar. He's very loved traditional country music, and from the moment I was born, he put it over me that I was going to be a singer, that I was going to play on the Opry one day, and that he was going to be in the front row watching. And my dad pretty much spoke it into existence, because I just love to sing. I've always felt like I had a part of my dad with me. I think that he gave me this huge gift of loving music, and music is always, no matter what genre it is, there's so many different songs that just really touch you, whether you're sad or you're happy, or any kind of thing that you're going through, you can pull a song out and pull from that. And just music is the best gift, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And talking about inspirations, can you tell the listeners where you're right now coming from?
Well, I am on the world famous, probably one of the most famous tour buses ever, but it's the Super Chief. It's Merle Haggard's Super Chief. So we're sitting here. This is in the front lounge. And my fiance, he owns the bus. His name is Dale Houston. He is a country singer as well. And so he's just flew back in from Nashville, and we got a lot of traveling still left to do. And but yeah, I'm sitting here. Merle's bunk's in the back, so maybe Merle will be here in spirit with me right now. But he is another one that is such a huge inspiration to me. I love his songwriting. I love his songs, and I actually cut one of his songs on my newest album.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that song was it's for Merle, I think it was Working Man Blues.
Yes.
But for your album, it was called Working Girl Blues.
Working Girl Blues, and and I didn't do that as far as Working Girl. I recorded it, but the Leona Williams, who was married to Merle Haggard, they sang together. She had sang before they got together. And she recorded Working Girl Blues. Well, I just fell in love with Leona. Leona now is one of my biggest inspirations, hands down. I love Leona so much. I've kind of adopted her as my mom. And but she recorded Working Girl Blues. So when I started doing it at my live shows, and I'm like, I've got to put this on the album. And this is the only cover that's on my album. And I'm like, I've got to have Leona sing with me. So reached out to Leona. She, gladly accepted. I was so happy to be on the album with me. And then, of course, Pantelis, Leroy Parnell's playing on it, playing the slide guitar. Eugene Moles, who played with Merle Haggard's playing the guitar. Joe Reed played with Merle as well. So the whole project just means so much. And it's just got some really good it's a solid song, and they've been playing it all over the world right now, and it did reach #1 on the Indie Express charts, which I was so proud of. And so it hadn't even released it yet. It's going to be released on Valentine's Day, so it's getting all this radio and airplay, and it hadn't even been released as a single off the album yet.
Absolutely. And I really think, I think I've heard like a little snippet of Working Girl Blues. It's such a great song. Like
Yeah.
and you definitely did it some justice on that song.
Thank you.
It's a really tough song to really master, even with like the history of it already. And I think what's really fascinating about, Merle Haggard and Working Man Blues and that song, I mean, it's a real honky tonk song, I will
Oh,
say.
And
Like,
well, they, there's a sound of its own. It's called Bakersfield sound, from Bakersfield to California. That's the sound, and one thing with Eugene Moles, by him playing the guitar on it, he really brought that sound of Bakersfield on this song. I mean, like everybody as a whole, just the music itself is just like, wow, it's just stellar. And then, to have, legends like Pam Tellis, who, I wanted the girls that have attitude, because you have to have a little attitude to pull this song off, singing it as a woman. And if you're able to take on a Merle Haggard song, you better have a little attitude. But yeah, so Leona, she just literally had her birthday last weekend in Nashville. I was there getting to celebrate with her, and it was just such a great time. And she actually sang Working Girl Blues then. So like I said, it's turned out to be just a great song altogether.
absolutely. And for people who are unfamiliar about what a honky tonk is, it's basically where people just go to a random bar or wherever it is at a location like the Bluebird Cafe, and you just sit in an audience full of singer-songwriters, and they just play their songs. It's basically a songwriter round. And I think you've had a lot of experience of being in those types of circles and playing your music in front of people that
Yes.
you're not familiar with. And so can you
Yeah.
talk more about that experience and how it sort of that shaped what you are today?
Oh wow. That's one thing I really pride myself in, is writing my songs. I write from my heart. I write from every song you can listen to. I've either been through it or, I've been around it, and wrote about it. I think as a singer, that's really important to write your songs. I'm not saying that everybody does or they can, but I feel that adds a lot when you're singing, because you can really sing it and you believe it because it's really there. But I've done a few singer-songwriter rounds. The last one that I did was actually with the JMA Fest, the Josie Music Award. They come in every year, and that this year was the first JMA Fest that they had, and I was part of the traditional country music round with Bobby Mackey and Bobby G. Rice, and like just some really like just iconic singers and songwriters. And so for them to sit there and tell me how much they love my music, and they're still, we're friends now, even past that. I feel like, maybe I made a little impression on them and they loved my music. So that is like a huge compliment.
Right, right. And I want to quote you on something that I was doing some research on, and I was reading some articles about you. And you were abundantly clear about your songwriting sort of style. And you said songs that tell the stories. I love storytelling because music and storytelling impacts the heart. Do you still believe that's true when it comes to you writing music?
Oh, most definitely. Every song that I write, there's two different types. I say there's one song that comes to you so quick, and I feel like it's from God. I know it's from God. It's just it just comes out of you, and you write it so smooth, and so it's so easy. And they're gift songs, and then there's other songs where they're still great songs, but you kind of have to piece them together, and um, but the ones that come and they're the gift songs like that, I have learned my strength of a woman that I have. Change the ending. There's a lot of those songs that, wow, when I release them, I get so many messages from a lot of people saying that I'm a big inspiration to them, or my songs have helped them get through things. And, I hear a lot of people talk like that, being an artist and being a songwriter, and you hear those things, but until it actually happens and you get to hear those deep stories on the other end of how you've helped somebody, it truly is. It's a moment where you have to sit back and you're like, okay, this is why I do what I do, because it is a huge thing. I love to sing. I love to write music, and I love everything about it. I love meeting new people. I just love everything about it. There's nothing else that I want to do in this world besides get to sing and play my music.
And you know that they also say that country music is three chords and the truth. Um, and I remember watching Alan Jackson. I think it was at the CMA Awards, or was it? Or no, was it ACM? I'm not sure which one it was. I think, but it was a recent award ceremony. Alan Jackson was being presented a lifetime Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award, and he says, you know, country music is three chords and truth, and but he says it was three chords and a prayer for him.
Well,
Um,
mine, my dad taught me how to play three chords. Um, and so in my song Carolina that I got, that talks about my mom and dad and how I grew up in Canton. And I grew up a cab driver's daughter, but my dad taught me how to play the guitar. Well, in the verses of it, it goes, Mama taught me to praise the Lord, and Daddy taught me three simple chords. And with the capo, I can play most anything. So mine's with a capo. I got the three chords and a capo. But and you know it's true. You can it's three chords, and you can write a lot of truth in behind those three chords.
absolutely. And I want to talk about your song "Strength of a Woman," because it's so important. I think a lot of people can look at men in the industry and say, "Wow, like you know, like they're doing really good," but in honesty, there are a lot of great female artists that are out there and working their butts off to
Oh
make it in the industry. You know, like we're seeing a lot of them now coming in very slowly and surely. You know, Mickey Guyton was one of them. Ashley Cook is another one of them, and you know,
yes,
like there's so
Lainey
many.
Wilson.
Lainey Wilson as well. Yeah, I mean, like
Love
she's
Lainey.
yeah, Lainey Wilson, Things a Man Ought to Know. Such a great song.
Yeah.
And she's done a recent collaboration with Hardy. Um,
Yes.
and her album, you know, Bell Bottom Country. What a great album. And
Yeah, and that, and she's a songwriter, and a lot of the ones that you mentioned, being songwriters and stuff, and these women, they've there's a lot of great artists, men and women, that's been coming out lately. I I listen to a lot of different stuff, but I do love the traditional country. Um, and I have a little mixture in there of certain sounds, between the blues and the southern rock. But yeah, the women, there's a lot of great women artists out there right now for sure. Ashley McBride's probably my favorite, that I listen to a lot because I love her. She's very genuine, and she just says it like what she means. That's for sure.
absolutely. And we were going to talk about the Strength of a Woman song. It's such uh, a poignant song. And you're abundantly clear as well on that song. You said the song off of the record recent EP Strength of a Woman is a woman's anthem song that has also been embraced by men. The song applies to everyone. But for you being a woman in the industry and chasing that dream of doing country music, what does that song mean to you?
Well, this song, "The Strength of a Woman," I had it on my EP, and I had it on this last album, because I feel like there's still so much left for this song. It's not done. It continuously, I get emails every single day, messages every day, people saying that this song has really helped them. Men too, even though it's the Strength of a Woman song, the words that are in the verses mean so much to everybody, and it's very uplifting, very inspirational. But this song to me is a very special one because when I wrote this song, I had gotten to a place where I had to leave an abusive relationship, marriage, and with my little boy, and ended up finding myself completely homeless. I had to leave everything, even shoes, and had nothing. And I had angels um, come around, and they helped with rebuilding mine and little sweet little Cash's world back, and what I thought was completely falling apart. It was just God reshifting everything and putting my life together and making it what it needed to be. And so he gave me this song actually as I was rebuilding and getting another place, and just kind of putting ourselves back together, and so that's from those times, that's when you have to really pull from deep within and find your strength and keep going. When you think that you feel like giving up, don't give up. You've got somebody there. The sun will shine again, like the song says.
And I want to go back to the conversation we were having about, female artists right now who are making a lot of waves in the industry. You mentioned Ashley McBride, who just recently got inducted into the Grand Ole Opry as a member.
No,
And you talked about earlier in this interview about chasing that dream of playing the Opry. Have you played the Opry yet?
I have not got to play the Opry yet. That is my ultimate dream. And it has been since I was a little girl. If you've watched the Carolina video at the very end, through the video, it shows me as a little girl, dreaming of being on the Opry stage. And then at the end of it, I told you that my dad said that he would be in the front row watching. And so that has been my dream, because one day I'm going to stand in that circle and I'm going to get to sing Carolina. And at the end of it, that last phrase, it says, "Tonight I'm in this Opry." Oh man, tonight I'm on this Opry stage. I can almost see my daddy's face, proud of his girl from Carolina. And I'm going to get to sing it. I might be having to talk it or cry it, but it's going to happen. I know it. It's got to be in God's timing for me to do it. I did get a little close to that dream when I was at the JMA Awards this past October, and it was held at the Grand Ole Opry. And I won Album of the Year. And when they called my name, "Strength of a Woman" played in the Grand Ole Opry, but I was actually not singing, but it did get played as I was walking to the stage. So I was very, very proud of that moment, because I felt like when I was giving my speech, of course my chair was empty, and I feel like my daddy was out there watching me. So I'm very proud.
Absolutely. And you haven't played the Bobby Bones show yet, have you?
I have not. I would love to. Bobby,
Okay,
call me.
okay, okay. So we're definitely gonna need to do some work on tagging Bobby Bones in this interview and getting him to bring you on the show. I mean, and I'm gonna try and tag the Opry. You need to make your Opry debut. That's
Uh,
it's just a dream of any country artist, I think.
it is.
And it's cool when you see like someone actually live their dreams out and actually achieve that milestone. Morgan Miles from The Voice just did her Opry Ryman debut, and such a
Uh,
powerhouse of a vocalist. And I'm hoping to have her on for an interview for the podcast. And so as we're wrapping up here, I want to ask you, there's been a lot of achievements in your life. There's also been a lot of downfalls in your life. Um, but what is one thing you feel that you've been told that you'll never forget?
well, my daddy, when I was a little girl, he told me to never, ever give up. He says, no matter how many no's get told at you, just take it as a not now. Um, Never let anybody put you down. Those words have always stayed with me. I've always been a little survivor, no matter what life's threw at me. I had it really hard growing up. I have had, like you said, some ups and downs throughout my life. But, you know, I've never forgot that. I've never forgot to just keep going. Don't ever give up. Um, Always look at the bright side of everything. Leave people as good or better than when you found them.
Absolutely. And my last question to you is, um, if you when you get to heaven, If you were to play a song with anybody who's already there, who would it be and what song would you play?
Well, somebody probably would end up saying a big artist, but to me, um, I would want to have that opportunity to be able to sing with my daddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely agree with that. I would definitely understand why you would say that, like, a lot of people would say like they would play a song with Merle Haggard, and who wouldn't? I mean, but I think it's such a hard question for people to really answer, and that's why I ask it. Like, I think it's just sometimes people can give you a little different perception on it, and it's really interesting to see how people thoroughly process the question and then answer it with a really fully heartful question or heartful
Yeah.
answer. And so thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. You're just amazing, and I thank you.
I mean, to the listeners who've made it this far into the episode, thanks so much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with American country singer-songwriter Lee Newton, also named after Brenda Lee. And you can hear it earlier in the interview. To support the show, please feel free to share with family, friends, or on social media. Any amount of form of support is greatly appreciated. You can find the podcast everywhere on all podcast streaming platforms. I'm also available on social media. Lastly, you can find my show on all podcast streaming platforms again. And I've been your host, Jigme Kelsang. Thanks for tuning into the show.